I thought last week was a pretty insane week in terms of the cricket played and the news, but I can't believe I'm sitting here today staring at the IPL ladder and seeing Sunrisers sitting last with 4 losses in a row, while at the same time looking at last year's mid to lower table teams Gujarat Titans and Delhi Capitals sit on top of the league looking unstoppable. In terms of international cricket, there hasn't been any play, but there has been arguments and retirements in the form of Pucovski, and now it's also looking like Klaasen has also played his last game for South Africa, after choosing to follow the T20 circuit over an international contract, which is always bound to bring some controversy and money over country talk, but that's just cricket in a nutshell. So let's start with the actual cricket before we start discussing the future of a bunch of different international players. It's actually been a really interesting week of cricket, but I don't think anything will top or be more interesting than Sunrisers sinking into last place after losing 4 in a row and not being able to score over 165 in their last 3 matches. Now, please be honest with me in the comments. Don't lie to me and let me know. Did anyone see this coming at all? Because I'm completely gobsmacked. Now, after the first game they played, I did speak about my worries with their consistency in the top order, not having heaps of experience in the IPL in the forms of Reddy, Abhishek, and also Head. But then obviously after scoring those runs, and even then I didn't think it would get this bad. I mean, I thought maybe a couple of the games Abhishek won't score or a few players wouldn't score. I didn't think they'll be getting bundled out for 150 every week. I think the worst part about it is how badly they've been getting beaten. It's not like they've had a couple of tight matches where it could have gone either way if someone got a wicket here or if someone just got 10 extra runs they could have won. They're getting dusted by either 7 wickets with 5 overs remaining or like 70 runs. I actually saw Fox Sport put up a post on their socials about Pat Cummins after the Gujarat game, something along the lines of great performance by our captain, meaning our test captain, but he just couldn't get his side over the line. He couldn't get them the win. And look, I love Pat Cummins. I sometimes love Fox Sports, but geez, that is stretching a bit. If you are having articles made up about you for scoring 22 not out and getting 1 for 26 off 3.4 overs, while the other team just chased 153 down with 4 overs left, then it's probably a sign of how bad things are getting. So for me, there are 2 glaring issues that the Sunrisers are facing at the moment, and I'm here with my 0 minutes of professional playing or coaching to point out those issues. So players or even coaches, if you're hiring, feel free to send me a message. I'm free and I've been dying to get to a game. All jokes aside though, I think the main issue is obvious. It is the batting, and in particular the batting in the first 6 overs, which I seem to speak about the last 2 videos now. I guess it's just been non-existent is what I'm trying to say. In the last 4 games, it's actually been so bad that I think it's overshadowed a pretty poor season with the ball as well, which I'll speak about later. But we can't even address those issues at the moment because they've had absolutely no runs to play with. Now, I think the hardest problem that Sunrisers and Pat Cummins and the coaches are going to face is the manner in which they address this issue, or if they are going to address it at all. And what I mean by that is Pat Cummins, since becoming the captain of the Australian team, and really since joining the Sunrisers as well, he's always kind of had the hands-off approach. And what I mean by that is pretty much he backs these players' abilities, he lets them go at their own pace, play without any weight on their back, any tactics holding them back. He will just let them play the game they want to play. And this has produced some outstanding results for the Australian side. I mean, they hold every bilateral trophy. I don't need to go on. It's not about Australia. That's how's me trying to talk up Australia when it's a video about Sunrisers? Anyway, the results have been there, but they've also been there for the Sunrisers. Obviously, you guys know better than me. You've been following the IPL for longer than me, or a lot of you have. They were in the bottom 3 for the previous 2 years before Pat Cummins came and started captaining. All of a sudden, they became this side that is absolutely devastating with the bat, beating the brakes off everyone. And it has probably helped players like Reddy and Abhishek kind of rise to the status they are at now, because they've just been able to slot into the team and play the way they've wanted to play. The thing is, now it's not working, and now it's not really working for anyone in the top 5 all at the same time. So what do? Obviously, you can try and fiddle with the batting by either working on technique or change the approach to the first 5 overs, even change the batting order. But then you're running the risk of adding further pressure onto players that are not playing at their best, or you're kind of forcing players to maybe not play their natural game, which may lead to more mistakes or just being unsure of what they're doing. The alternate method, and the one which I probably think Pat Cummins will stick with, is just trusting in your players and putting it down to just a bad run of form for multiple players all at once. But then hopefully just by letting them do what they do best, they can sort that out themselves in the coming games. Look, I don't have the answers. I don't know what they're going to do, but I am really, really intrigued to see what they do with their batting over the next coming games. Are they going to tactically change things, or are they just going to say, look, we've had a bad couple of games. We've all got out pretty cheaply playing our natural game. That's not going to happen again. Now, before we move on, I do want to mention the bowling, because in my honest opinion, that's actually been subpar too. But actually, before we talk about it, if you have been enjoying these longer videos, these longer style of videos, let me know by leaving a comment or a subscription or a like. Also, if you want the video and audio, you want the flexibility of both, you can go over to my Spotify and watch it there and leave me a rating. Like I said with the bowling, it is so hard to criticize this bowling unit when the scores have been so low. But I do want to hit you with a few interesting statistics just quickly. Now, Sunrisers have taken 23 wickets this season, which is the second worst along with 3 other teams. But when you look and when you go to runs conceded, they have been hit for 954 runs this season, which is the worst, with Mumbai Indians being the second worst with 894. But then the team after that is the Royals, which is a whole 124 runs less than Mumbai with 770. Now, let me be clear. When it comes to the runs conceded, those statistics are a little weird because the Sunrisers have played a game more than most teams. But then also you need to factor in that they got rolled for 150 and 160 and got chased down with overs to spare. And the teams obviously aren't batting as aggressively as they have to because they're only chasing 150. If you look at wickets taken, they've got an extra game than everyone, yet they've taken pretty much the least amount of wickets. So it's not great signs with the ball either. You can't be too critical because they haven't really been able to do anything because they've just had so little runs to play with. But they're not really firing on any cylinder at the moment. I tell you what, this was not the year to start supporting Sunrisers. I kind of wanted to choose between sides that had the most Aussies in them. So I was thinking between Delhi, Lucknow, or Sunrisers. And I've managed to pick the worst performing team that are dead last. Typical, just typical. So I want to touch on this quickly because this is genuinely one of the saddest stories in cricket. But it has been officially confirmed today that the young Australian opener, Pucovski, will be forced into retirement. Which we essentially did know, but it's been confirmed today, and by the sounds of it, he's not going to be able to play cricket at any level, which is absolutely horrible. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like for someone who's kind of their whole life, their whole identity, and even their whole career in terms of making money has been built around cricket, to then get completely cut off from the game in terms of playing and not even being able to play the lower grades is heartbreaking. He has spoke on the mic a few times before, and I think he's really articulate and really well spoken, unlike me, who seems to stumble on their words every 2 minutes. But I'm hopeful that he will end up in a commentary box or coaching or involved in cricket in some way or another, if that's what he wants to do. It is sad. He's only a couple months younger than me, which is, I'm 28. He's only 27, and he has to deal with some serious news after kind of a back and forth of whether he's going to play or not. Yeah, my heart goes out to him, and I have massive respect for him for being so transparent on what is going on, but being transparent with how he has dealt with it and what he has had to deal with. I mean, it would be great to chat with him because I think for other young males, there are so many young males in cricket that probably have their own mental health struggles, maybe not to do with injuries, but other struggles. And I think it's very inspiring him speaking out and speaking so openly about it, especially in, let's be honest, a sport that is very much don't show your feelings, act tough at all times. In a very macho sport, I think that's very respectable from Pucovski. So wishing him all the best in his future endeavours. Hopefully he still stays involved in cricket if he wants to. So back to something slightly more positive, but I wouldn't go as far to say it's good news by any stretch, or at least for international and South African fans, because Heinrich Klaasen has not been retained by Cricket South Africa. And why he hasn't officially retired, I would say that is pretty much it. He retired from Tests at the end of last year or at the start of last year, and he went on to a white ball contract only last year, but then this year he hasn't taken any contract at all, and from all the reports, it's not South Africa's choice, but it's rather his choice. He wants to prioritise T20 leagues, which of course leads into another discussion, as it always does. So what are my thoughts on players denying contracts from their countries to go play T20s? Now, this is a bit of a double-loaded question, and I think it varies massively on conditions. It varies massively on age and what country you represent. If I saw a player like Cameron Green, who is relatively young, kind of in his prime, obviously he's injured at the moment, maybe that's not the best example, but anyway, if he retired tomorrow from internationals so he could focus on T20 leagues, I won't lie, I would be a little bit heartbroken and a little bit sad, but I think this situation is entirely different. Firstly, if you represent a Big Three nation, and everyone always asks why they called Big Three nations when they're not even the best, for this exact reason. The Big Three have significantly more money than the other countries, and their contracts and their pay for their own leagues, their sponsorship offers, their pathways after their cricket career is much better than other countries. South African players don't have the luxury of all this. So when I see a player at their back end of their career try and secure money for retirement, I have absolutely no problem. I think it is so different. You're on way better contracts when you're representing a Big Three country. Like I said, you get sponsorship money. As a test player, if you have a long test career, that is your life set up if you're from a Big Three country. You don't get anywhere near that representing one of those smaller nations. So I have absolutely no problem, and I completely understand why they would want to get some money before they retire, especially when you might not have these pathways into coaching or whatever, as the Big Three nations do. At the end of the day, if I'm being honest, even if a player like Cameron Green decided to retire and focus on T20s, although I would be sad that players have to resort to do that, at the end of the day, a person making money for their family, you can't really knock it. You can't really be upset at someone for prioritizing their family and making sure they're making their family money for the years to come. So we will leave it there for now. I was going to speak about Brook being named captain and Ashwin also getting sent to the naughty corner and getting his YouTube banned for the CSK games, but I thought I could probably wrap those up in a short. But if you did want me to speak about them, just let me know. Other than that, the only cricket on at the moment is literally county and the IPL, but the IPL has been amazing so far in terms of different teams looking strong. And then we've also got records broken in the county. So even though there's a lack of international cricket, I literally can't complain. So I'll talk to you all in a few days.